Donald Trump and Joe Biden, the two nominees running for the White House, took on each other at the second and the final debate of this election season. The two rivals clashed over 6 different topics, including US's response to the COVID-19 pandemic and the measures that the Trump administration took in the face of this pandemic. The Democratic nominee, Joe Biden, blamed Trump for the pandemic still raging unabated in America, saying that Trump has no plan to fight COVID-19. Countering the remarks, US President Donald Trump said he learned a lot about the virus after contracting it and that America will get a vaccine by the end of this year, but not before the November 3rd election. Donald Trump also blamed China. He also said infectious disease expert Anthony Fauci got it wrong at the beginning of this pandemic. Listen.
Within weeks?
Yes.
Is that a guarantee?
No, it's not a guarantee, but it will be by the end of the year. But I think it has a good chance. There are 2 companies, I think, within a matter of weeks, and it will be distributed very quickly.
Can you tell us which companies?
Johnson & Johnson is doing very well. Moderna is doing very well. Pfizer is doing very well. And we have numerous others. Then we also have others that we're working on very closely with other countries, in particular Europe.
This is the same fellow who told you this is going to end by Easter last time. This is the same fellow who told you that, don't worry, we're going to end this by the summer. We're about to go into a dark winter. And he has no clear plan, and there's no prospect that there's going to be a vaccine available for the majority of the American people before the middle of next year.
I want to open the schools. The transmittal rate to the teachers is very small, but I want to open the schools. We have to open our country.
We're going to make sure that we open safely. And by the way, all you teachers out there, not that many of you are going to die, so don't worry about it.
By the way, I will say this. If you go and look at what's happened to New York, it's a ghost town. It's a ghost town. And when you talk about plexiglass, these are restaurants that are dying. These are businesses with no money. Putting up plexiglass is unbelievably expensive, and it's not the answer. I mean, you're going to sit there in a cubicle wrapped around with plastic. These are businesses that are dying, Joe. You can't do that to people.
I don't look at this in terms of the way he does. Blue states and red states. They're all the United States. And look at the states that are having such a spike in the coronavirus. They're the red states. They're the states in the Midwest. They're the states in the upper Midwest. That's where the spike is occurring significantly. But they're all Americans. They're all Americans. And what we have to do is say, wear these masks.
New York has lost more than 40,000 people, 11,000 people in nursing homes.
President Trump, what about...
When you say spike, take a look at what's happening in Pennsylvania, where they've had it closed. Take a look at what's happening with your friend in Michigan, where her husband's the only one allowed to do anything. It's been like a prison. Now it was just ruled unconstitutional. Take a look at North Carolina. They're having spikes, and they've been closed, and they're getting killed financially. We can't let that happen, Joe. You can't let that happen. We have to open up.
Joining us on this broadcast is Jagruti Dave, who joins us from Washington, D.C. Jagruti, first of all, this was a civilized presidential debate for most parts. There were no personal attacks or personal barbs like we witnessed during the first debate. Obviously, the pandemic was the headline of this debate as well. We heard Donald Trump saying that there will be a vaccine not before the election, but probably in a few weeks. We also heard Donald Trump saying that he wants to open businesses and schools. There was a clear divide as far as Donald Trump's position on the pandemic and Joe Biden's position on the pandemic is concerned. But I guess what American people and the world wanted to hear was Joe Biden's plan on how he would tackle the pandemic. He suggested putting up plexiglasses. But apart from that, what was different in Joe Biden's plan to deal with this pandemic?
Well, I think Joe Biden really was trying to go for the simple attack, which was that he has a plan and that Donald Trump does not have a plan, which is why there are more than 200,000 deaths in America and why America is one of the world's hardest hit countries because of the coronavirus pandemic. That is an attack that the Democrats have leveled against Donald Trump for a while now, and this is something that Joe Biden continues to use. You know, he, as somebody, you know, Donald Trump has been president while the pandemic is going on. So in that that sense, the job is harder for Donald Trump. He has to defend his record. Joe Biden doesn't. He can say, well, I'm not president, and all he can do, he's in that easier position where he can afford to just go on the attack, which is what he did do. He said that he would have a national plan for reopening schools, giving guidance to schools, once again levelling that criticism that there hasn't been a unified federal plan to help schools and businesses and places of worship reopen safely, that there hasn't been sort of a nationwide strategy like a mask mandate, for example, which, whilst Joe Biden has said it would be difficult to enforce, at least that could be something that would be pushed as a message centrally. So I'd say that was, in that sense, Joe Biden probably had an easier job on the pandemic.
Right. Donald Trump once again blamed China over the pandemic. He said China, while it prevented the virus from spreading its own country, China allowed the virus to spread across the world. He also accused Dr. Anthony Fauci, saying that Fauci got it wrong at the beginning of the pandemic when he suggested that masks were not compulsory for the people. How did that go down with the American people?
Well, this is not a new argument that he's made. He has for a while now started criticising Dr. Anthony Fauci, one of the most respected infectious diseases experts in the United States, over his advice around the coronavirus pandemic. And this is a strategy that he's used to deflect blame from himself onto other parties, saying that he followed the advice of health experts, that he himself as president restricted travel from China. He's called it a ban, but of course it was a partial travel restrictions. People, some Americans were still allowed to return to the United States from China. So this is, a strategy that he's used before. And, Dr. Anthony Fauci is incredibly popular. There are some people on the right who, don't like Dr. Anthony Fauci because he's pushing the masks, because they are supporters of the president. They are taking on that sort of very political issue of mask wearing, seeing it as an infringement of their own civil liberties. But I think, the president's rhetoric on the pandemic, he's made the comments before, it's nothing new.
Absolutely, Jagrati. And, the word is out for American people and the world to judge, because America has more than 8.5 million cases of coronavirus. America has more than 220,000 deaths due to the coronavirus. So the world knows how America has dealt with this pandemic, isn't it?